What's up, Ben? Yeah. Do the kangaroo one. Do the kangaroo one. You know he does that one too. Yeah, that one. Yo, you know what it is. It's the MMA Tap Hour. We would have loved to record it last week, but the shakeup on Friday put us on a pause, had us in our own little chokehold, and we said we'll just recap the week past. Ben, did you get to see these fights?
Yeah, I did, bro. I had Saturday off, so the boys came into town and we watched all the fights, barbecued. First time I barbecued all summer. It's just been hot as hell.
It's been too hot.
Yeah, it's starting to cool down a bit, so I did catch all the fights. Good night of fights for the most part. But before the fight started, with the missed weight cut and all that, I mean, it even had you telling me that the fights pay-per-view was going to get canceled.
No, I said Dana said. You always say that I say that, but I don't have the pull to say something like that.
Messenger, bro. I kill the messenger, okay?
Yeah, you do. And it started with a pre-press conference on Thursday. The pre-fight conference, they started getting the scrap in the back. I have to ask you, were you a fan of the original fight set, or were you a bigger fan of the change up in the lineup that happened?
Yeah, definitely a way bigger fan of how it happened. I think that, it ended up being a dream ending for Diaz instead of being a nightmare ending like the UFC was trying to push on him, with fighting Hamz, because, we know how the fights went down, and let's not get it twisted. The same would have probably happened if it was Nate Diaz in there instead of Holland. So it's good to see, that Diaz and Ferguson went at it for 4 rounds. It was a good fight, hell of a fight. Both guys, I thought they showed a little bit too much respect for each other, with the way that both guys usually carry themselves. I think it was a lot Tony. I think Tony really, and Diaz too, but Tony really was trying to bow every chance he got or touch gloves and hug him. You know what I mean? And after Diaz ended up winning, he even shouted out that, Tony was an OG in the game and came up the right way. They even gave Tony the interview. But yeah, bro, I was really pleased with how the main event ended up going down. And we'll talk a little bit about the Hamz and Holland here in a minute.
Yeah, well, let's get into this co-main. It did end in the first round, one-way traffic from the get-go. Holland goes for the double leg, secures the takedown, wrestles Holland for what, maybe 2-3 minutes before he finally locked in his darts.
Was it a dirty start in your opinion? I know that was floating around about all the touching of the gloves, and Hamzat shot the takedown right off the bat.
It's not like something I like to see, but at the end of the day, you're in a fight. It's not friends, it's fight. So I'm not like upset. It's not something I want to see from a fighter that I cheer for. Good thing is I don't cheer for Hamzat, so he could do whatever. But yeah, I personally didn't like it. What about you? You were okay with that?
I was okay with it. I didn't see anything wrong with it because I thought that there was legit bad blood, between the two guys, and it just so happened to work out perfectly that they got matched up against each other, considering the press conference got canceled because them two had started getting into a fight backstage or whatever it may be. But manhandled him, and finished him pretty quick. But even after the fight, you have the picture right there of them kind of like hugging each other, whatever.
Yeah.
I legit thought it was beef, bro. I don't know if I'm all gullible like Ariel Helwani and fall in too much to the storyline, but I legit think that some of these guys hate each other, and it turns out that they don't.
Yeah. So you mentioned bad blood, and I got to ask you, with a guy like Hamzat, do you think that he just plays this up for the media, plays it up for the cams, and this is not really who he is? He's kind of, putting on that heel persona, that bad guy persona. Is he doing that for the cams, or is this part of who he really is?
He was a likable guy, right? Up until this year.
He was a fan favorite up until this weekekend.
Yeah, up until this weekend. Yeah, people kind of said, oh, you came in 8 pounds, 7.5 pounds overweight. Well, fuck you, if you really don't
smiled care. on the scale, acting like it's no big deal. Right about the doctor saying, oh, you need to stop, when it was his own decision.
Yeah, so I do think that it is an act. I'm not saying the dude isn't a badass, but as far as aggressive as he is prior to the fight, it seems just to be an act. I appreciated Joe Rogan's line of questioning after the fight as well.
Absolutely.
Didn't expect that. Joe Rogan, kind of being the company man for the most part. I did appreciate that line of questioning. And even after Hamzat kind of blew it off initially, he followed up, with another question like,
He wasn't letting him off easy.
Right. And it makes sense, bro, because this guy can't fight for the belt next.
And the questioning was pointed in a positive manner. Also, like, he didn't just necessarily like kill him. He was like, "Hey, man, you do realize you're hurting yourself here. If this was a title fight, you're not winning the belt tonight," which is kind of like helping the young guy, move forward. You're like, "Hey, man, I don't know what's in your corner, but I'm going to push you in the right direction with this question."
And it's happened before, bro. I mean, look at Yoel Romero. He could have been a champion, but he missed weight, and he's never touched gold, right?
Yeah, never touched gold in the UFC. Missed weight multiple times at middleweight, and now we can see. I think he's fighting light heavy at Bellator. He's not even making that middleweight anymore.
Yeah, and it's honestly weird to me, bro, because I think that you would think that it'd be easier for Hamzat to fight, in Izzy's division, right, instead of Usman's.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that, because what's next for Hamzat? He's killing these guys with the wrestling. If he fights anybody that's not a wrestler, it's going to be Hamzat, probably minus 1,000 or something like that again, anytime he matches up against these guys. Do you think at this point he needs to just scrap his chances at welter, make the full move to middleweight where he's not going to have to cut weight at all, and just continue there?
That's probably the move, but I think that he wants to, he's pretty close to a title at 170. Yes. He'd probably just like to grab it and then move up and, do that double champ shit, because it's an automatic shot at 180. You know what I mean? If you're the champ at 170 and you want to do it, how long ago could they have put Usman against Izzy together? They're just boys, so it's never happened. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. I'm sure Usman has wanted 2 titles. Just so happens that he won't fight Izzy. You see that in the sport, Merab and Aljamain Sterling. Like, some guys just won't,
training partners.
Some guys just won't fight each other. So I do think that Hamzat wants that. He wants to get that 170 belt and then, move up to 180 and have an automatic shot and be champ. He's got a long career ahead of him. So
he sits at right number 2 in the welterweight division. What does he move to the middleweight? Like, if you're going to say, translate him over to the middleweight, what ranking does he fit in? Are you giving him a top guy right away, or are you going to put him against, 8 through 10?
No, you probably make him fight Whitaker. You know what I mean? And the winner just fights for the belt.
See, I like where you're going there, because Whitaker's a guy who has size on him and can wrestle. What happens with that? Because, Whitaker has better stand-up than Chimaev does. Can he cancel that wrestling out? And he has good wrestle defense as well. What do you see if they were to match up together?
I don't know what to think, bro. I haven't thought that far. I'm thinking at 170, I'm thinking him and Kobe need to fight, since Usman and Leon are going to rematch. Like, have these guys fight. The winner fights, the champ after they rematch.
Okay, I also like that direction. I got to ask you, 2 guys, heavy wrestling. We've seen Kobe, when there's another guy who has heavy wrestling, he abandons the wrestling and sticks to the stand-up. Who do you like in that matchup, Kobe and Hamzat?
I think I like Kobe, because it's probably going to be a 5-rounder, and we saw Hamzat, struggling in that Gilbert Burns fight.
True.
And he's fought Burns, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of people that thought Burns won that night. So I like him against Kobe. I think it's a real test for him right before, the title shot. Because Diaz wasn't going to be the best test for him either, bro. Holland is a tough guy, but if you take him down, it's over. You know what I mean? So yes. I'd like to see him fight Kobe and see where that goes. Mm-hmm. And if he decides to fight at 180, I like the Whitaker fight, and I like, possibly the Costa fight, because there is some beef there. So.
And that's real beef from what it seemed like, again, on
camera.
Yeah. Yeah. So Whitaker at 185, Kobe at 170. Dana, book it. We want to see either one.
One of the 2.
All right, let's move on to the main event of last Saturday night. Nate Diaz defeats Tony Ferguson by guillotine round. As you can see here from the photos, Ben, a lot of respect from the 2. These are 2 OGs. Ben, personally, for me, I love this fight. I really thought it was a fun fight for the fans. They were, causing a ruckus all night, cheering for this fight, all 4 rounds. Hardly any boos. Even when some of the fighting got stale, where they weren't, actively hitting each other, it looked like Diaz went for a little break for air, and Tony was on the floor at one point. the fans enjoyed it. It was something really nice to see. But would you prefer to see this fight 5 years ago when both of them were at the top of their games?
Yeah, but I think it was honestly still a pretty competitive fight here at
Oh
this
yeah,
stage of their careers. I was very pleased with the fight. Obviously, I like the outcome. I like Diaz winning. That is the side of the fence I ended up falling on fight night.
it was
Two of
nice
my,
getting him that money line win when he was the dog, wasn't it?
yeah, two of my favorite fighters in the UFC, bro. Like I didn't want to have to pick one or the other, but if I don't pick Diaz, I might as well change my fucking last name, and I'm not doing that. So we went with Diaz, and we got the win. I was surprised that he was able to choke Tony out, and especially because he didn't have the arm locked in under. You see his right arm there on his shoulder, like above his head. But Diaz started flexing also a little bit towards the end, like he knew he had it in deep or whatever, and Tony didn't take too long to tap, to be honest.
Yeah, there's levels between Cesar Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, apparently.
Oh, shit.
Now, Ben, I don't know if you heard right before the 4th round, Tony's coaches tell him, hey, I want to see you take him down. I want to see you wrestle. You got to think that Diaz, who's been preparing for a wrestler all camp long, that's not the kind of coaching you're supposed to give your guy. Right. Why take him to the mat when you've been kicking his legs down, chopping those legs down for 3 rounds?
Yeah.
What's the sense behind that?
Not very good coaching. That's Jackson Wink in his corner. He that was his new camp. He went over to Jackson Wink. Supposedly there was buzz that Tony's, kind of brought the place back to life with his high energy and his hardcore training. But that's terrible advice. I mean, yes, he was Diaz was getting the better end of him, on the stand-up, but Tony was having his moments as well.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the wrestling, it wasn't the move. It was bad advice. Clearly bad advice.
All right. Well, Tony Ferguson 0-5 in the last 5 fights. Ben, what do we see for him next? Is he still going to be in the UFC? Are they going to extend him another fight as courtesy? And if so, who would you like to see him booked against? He did say at the end of the Rogan interview that he got, I'm back. I'm back. I don't know how you're back at 0-5 when you just lost.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to let this dog in right now after this. But I think honestly that he stepped up. He saved the main event because he wasn't the main event of the night. He stepped up, took the fight. Bigger profile fight. Obviously, going from Jingling to Diaz. Yep. Mm-hmm. But he stepped up for the UFC like he usually does, and I don't think that they cut him or that this is his last fight. I think that they owe him a little more than that. So Tony's going to stick around for a while.
Yeah. Ben, with Tony sticking around in the UFC, did you like to see him back at 155, go back to lightweight, or do you feel he should go and stay at 170?
Probably at this stage of his career, not cut weight that hardcore. There's a couple of fights from at 170 against other legends in that weight class. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it. So there is the guys that break that rule that later on in their career they're dropping weight. Aldo, Cruz, those type of guys. But usually as you get older, you go up a bit. You go up 10 pounds in weight, and you try another division. He's done everything he could do at 155. Bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
One of the best win streaks of all time.
Right. He's fought the who's who in that division. And honestly, right now, that division is crazy stacked at the top. And we don't want to see him get knocked out by any of those heavy hitters at 155. So
I got a guy in mind at 170 that he could fight. Robbie Lawler.
Perfect.
Right? Perfect. OG fight. You can sell the fans on that. Perfect. No one's going to be in super danger, but you're going to get a good stand-up match. I think that's a good fight to make.
Robbie just lost to Barberena. I mean, even maybe Tony. I mean, Tony against Barberena would be fucking insane. Yeah, Barberena might have a little too much power for Tony at this point, but
Barberena. Tony can catch him on some elbows for sure.
Barberena just beat Lawler. Lawler's coming off a loss. Tony hasn't lost. Put together, Ferguson against Lawler. I like that, Justin.
Yeah, I like that. Well, let's move on to Nate. We did hear his conversation with Rogan saying, hey, I think I'm going to take some time away from the UFC. It's a love-hate relationship, but there is that big trilogy fight on the table somewhere. Dana's got to be thinking it. Him and Conor for the trilogy, or do you see Nate really moving away from the UFC? Because we've heard interviews where he's like, "I'm ingrained in this. I can't leave this. Like it's part of me." Any chance he's going to fight a Jake Paul or a celebrity boxing event like that?
100% his next fight is boxing. He's been waiting to get out. He's been saying, just put me against anybody. I want to go. He even said to Rogan, I wanted to go take over another sport. Yeah. Conor couldn't do it. I'm going to show you how to do it. Conor was already tweeting, the trilogy is going to happen between me and you eventually. Yes. Nate even hinted at possibly coming back to the UFC. And if he meant it for that fight, because that's the only thing left for him to do is they got to settle that rubber match, that 1-1. So I do see him boxing. Could see him boxing the winner of Silva and Jake Paul.
So I got to talk about Conor McGregor a little bit. Would that fight be the biggest fight that UFC has left to make right now? Even though, they're coming off losses, just the trilogy, the rubber match, as you say, the hatefulness, the pregame, sportsmanship, the talking, all that stuff that has added up into that rivalry. Is that their biggest fight to make? Is there a bigger fight in the UFC that we need to see? In other words, and the Ngannous of the world, the John Jones, is that bigger?
And Jones, yeah.
That's the biggest?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, fair enough.
And heavyweights usually are the biggest fights. It'd be John Jones at heavyweight, Ngannou. We know what he brings. And you wouldn't see him wrestling John Jones either. So
yeah. Well, let's move on to this weekend. Not a lot of good fights this weekend, but we're going to cover the main event. It's Yadong Song or Song Yadong, depending how you say it, because I heard it different ways. I just want to pay my respects and say it both ways to make it right. And we got Corey Sandhagen. This is a bantamweight matchup. Let's go over the last five for Song Yadong. He's sitting at the Kung Fu Monkey, by the way, is his nickname. His last W is against Marlon Moraes. Not a lot of weight there for me anymore. Nope. Maybe 2 to 4 years ago when Marlon Moraes was on his run, the magician, he was killing people, but he's cut. He's not even in the UFC anymore.
Yep.
Anything else?
Very controversial win against Marlon Chito Vera.
Chito Vera
down there. That was a fight that a lot of people thought Chito won.
I agree. Chito, in my eyes, won that fight.
It was a 3-round fight, so Chito starts a little bit slow. But yeah, he did win a split decision on that one, and a win over Julio Arce, TKO. Actually, over Julio Arce. Julio Arce, pretty respectable guy as well. Song Yadong is good. I don't think that he's like elite. Definitely can take a lot of punishment. Most Asian fighters do take a lot of punishment. I mean, the Korean Zombie for a reason, right?
Yes.
So tough opponent, very tough opponent. Good test. He's going to be the shorter guy here in this fight, probably by a decent amount against Sandhagen. I think that Sanhagen is better everywhere, honestly. I think Yadong might be the stronger guy, but that's it. Maybe, up against the cage, he can put Sanhagen. That's probably where he's going to want him. You see, Sanhagen's a tall, lanky guy, so you do want to have him up against the cage, possibly on the ground, but Sanhagen's guard, very, very difficult guard with how flexible he is and how high he brings his leg up in that rubber guard. So tough fight for Song Yadong. I think that it's rightfully Sanhagen should be the favorite.
I do think of Sanhagen somewhat as a gatekeeper in the bantamweight division. We look at his losses here. Aljo, the champion, lost to TJ Dillashaw on his TJ's comeback fight. This is TJ being off 2 years for that EPO substance abuse. Then he lost to Peter Yan, the former champion, on a short notice fight for Sanhagen. His 2 wins, Marlon Moraes out of the UFC, Frankie Edgar, complete shell of himself.
Yeah.
So when he's fighting top guys, Ben, he's not getting dubs.
No, I think that very close decision, that TJ Dillashaw fight. I know I've been saying this shit a lot, but I mean, some of these fights are really close with these lighter guys because nobody knocks anybody out, and the output is insane. So I think Sanhagen is for real. I don't think that he is the other guy, Dan Hooker. I don't think he's that type of guy. Mm-hmm. I think Dan Hooker is a gatekeeper type of guy. I do think Sanhagen is for real. 30 years old, so he's not the oldest guy either. He's in his prime. Sanhagen's going to win this fight. That's for damn sure.
And it's lined up that way. Vegas has a money line minus 195 on him.
Yeah, I see him winning this fight. Song Yadong, only route to victory was probably grinding out a decision, like I said, keeping Sanhagen up against the fence, possible takedowns up against the fence where Sanhagen really can't use his guard on the ground. So give me Corey Sanhagen here. I don't think that he's going to put him out.
By decision, then.
He could sub him. I think sub or decision. I don't think it's going to be any type of KO. Possibly a late submission, 4th round. If not, it's decision.
Yeah, I'm just not big on Sanhagen here. Give me Yadong Song on the upset here. Okay. I do feel like Sanhagen's somewhat of a gatekeeper. He is getting older and not performing as well. He did fight the best of the best when he does have his losses, but I just think Song Yadong is actually better than what Vegas has him at. I like the decision by Song Yadong plus 165 for this weekend myself. What does a setback like this do for Sanhagen? You lose to somebody like Song Yadong. How far back does that set you for the title shot?
Oh, definitely. If he loses to Song Yadong, he's a gatekeeper. I'll be ready to call him that. Yeah. I don't see him losing this fight, bro. I really don't.
Maybe it's my biasness against him. It could be. I don't like the guy, so could be that.
I'm gonna have to watch this Sunday morning. I won't be watching it live. So
why? What's up Saturday night?
Going to the Horns game, baby.
Oh yeah, nice.
Gonna pound the Roadrunners down, rub it in Wally's face and Holland's face.
Well, you're also gonna be missing this then, and that's Canelo Triple G. The trilogy fight.
I think I can catch this. This will be starting around 11 o'clock, probably midnight. The game
you probably could if you're not. Oh, you know what? The game's in Austin. You'll probably be home at the end of the game. Game's at 7:30 or 7:15, right?
7, yeah.
Yeah, so you'll be home by then.
Game should be over at 10, right? Getting out of UT Stadium, though. Oh, my God.
The traffic in Austin is bad. One highway, so.
That's
but yeah, Ben, Triple G and Canelo, the trilogy here. You got, what is it, 2-0, or is it 1-1? What is this? What is the current situation?
It's 1-1, isn't it? They had to draw the first fight, or did they give it to Canelo?
Yeah, I think it was a draw the first one, and then Canelo won the second.
Canelo won the second one.
How do you see this one going, the third one?
Listen, I'm not the biggest boxing guy, bro, to be honest. Like, I have a little group chat with my uncles, and they talk a lot of boxing. I mean, the Andy Ruiz fight, they watch them all. Yeah. I do watch the big ones. I watch Canelo when he does fight, but this is kind of like Mayweather and Pacquiao. When they fought, I think that Pacquiao Triple G's done, bro. Yeah, it's good that these guys have already fought twice. Obviously, the Triple G should have gotten the decision the first time around, but they scored it a draw. But at this point, I think, and I've never been the biggest Triple G guy, so it might be some bias speaking there against him. But I think at this point, Triple G is over the hill. Yes, he's been winning, but he's been getting touched.
His last fight said a lot. He got dropped, I think, right away. He did end up winning the fight. Canelo's last fight was a loss. He fought at a way bigger weight class than he's ready for. The speed wasn't translating. Bivol was way better defensively than him, so he's back in the right weight class. I think it's Canelo pretty easy here this weekend.
Any chance he gets him out of there, Justin?
Man, Triple G's tough. I don't see that. I don't see that part. I'll be shocked if he does. I'll give him a lot more praise than I'm already giving him.
Okay. I am going to try and watch this fight, though.
All right. Well, I think that's it. That's it for us for MMA Tap Hour. A lot of recap over what happened last weekend and a little touch of this weekend's fights. Anything else, Ben, that you want to say for MMA? Any directions you're looking forward to ahead? Anything like that? I
think the next pay-per-view is already Do Bronx and Makhachev. So
in October.
I mean, we still got to get through this whole month, but I'm looking forward to that next pay-per-view. We're gonna get a lot of questions answered in October.
And I think that Tap Hour might be interesting. There's some guests that we could probably have lined up. We do have a chat room, a WhatsApp chat where it's pretty divided on what side they're on, and it gets a little choppy and chippy in there, so that should be fun.
I'm looking forward to that Oliveira and Makhachev fight.
All right, well, that's it for us at WTBS and the MMA Tap Hour. Thank you.